Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Cutting Edge Garage podcast. With us today is Jeff Crutcher from Zone KTM Racing.
Yes, sir.
Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'll just give you the 101. I've been racing dirt bikes since 1995, second generation. My dad was a pro racer originally, and just worked my way through the amateur ranks, locally, nationally, and then started riding I became a licensed professional in 2005 at the age of 16, and went from there all the way through to where I am at now as team principal of the Zone KTM team. I have transitioned significantly from being exclusively a pro racer to now managing and operating the team, and it's a big transition to go from being rider to, a team principal. What prompted me to do that is I worked at FedEx for 10 years. And there was a lot of time where I was out on route, and I knew that although I was making really good money, I had a pension, 401k, all the benefits, I knew that it was not what I needed to be doing. And I just felt like I was just like a shell of what I should do, but I didn't know what it was. And I operate, at the time I was operating a sticker company, custom motocross graphics, art, just anything that somebody would need digitally or printed. I was operating that on the side, and it got to the point to where we had a regional manager come in, had a meeting with us, and didn't introduce himself, just expected us to know who he was and informed us that they were going to start messing with our pensions. And I had no say in that. And that irritated me to my core, and I realized I'm not meant to work for a Fortune 100 corporation. I'm meant to work for myself. I have a problem with authority as it is. I don't like being told what to do.
I suffer from that myself.
Yeah, I'm sure you understand that.
I do.
And so, I didn't necessarily want to be the boss, because at FedEx, they were trying to get me into management training, and I actually started that program. And I realized that if I did that, I would have less freedom than as just a route driver. So I knew that what my talents are and the way that I wanted to live my life wasn't going to be done inside of that corporation. So I turned in my 2 weeks, and I'm going to be honest with you, it was on a wing and a prayer. I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew that I had my sticker business and that I was just going to try to go full scale with that. And, I had a handful of customers, that were pretty regularly, but my customer service was, terrible, because I worked 40, 50, 60 hours a week at FedEx. And then I come home, do decals real quick before going to bed, and then I do them again in the morning. Now, I don't do any printing. It's all third party. I have print providers that do everything for me. So I wasn't having to operate a press. So that gave me the ability to just do the designs. And as that happened, it really put that, plus, when I say as that happened, I mean whenever that meeting with that regional manager, plus just wanting freedom. I should say I went on a 2 week or a week and a half long adventure riding tour in Costa Rica with my dad.
That sounds awesome.
It was amazing. Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
Costa Rica is on my bucket list. Haven't been.
You'd thrive there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get the aura from you that you'd be the kind of guy to love yourself some Costa Rica. Okay. It is a fantastic country, and it's very for the most part, it's pretty modern. The one part about Costa Rica that is not modern at all is their sewage systems. So when you wipe, you throw it into the trash can, not the toilets. That's like the universal rule around Costa Rica. Okay. So just to give you a heads up whenever you do go there.
So make sure you're using a can with a lid.
Correct. Yeah. So what we did was we flew into San Jose, the capital city, and we had a guy come pick us up from the airport. He then took us to a motorcycle rental guy. I mean, he lived in a condo that was a high rise and just had a covered garage. like everybody does at condos. And he just had motorcycles. And it was pick whichever one you want. It's a flat rate per day, whichever bike. And we got some KTMs, 1090s. And then we had a guide. And Seb, who was French, but living in Costa Rica, because the most French thing to do is, to be so pissed off at your own country that you can't even stand to be there. And so he was living in Costa Rica.
It's getting that way in America.
Right, yeah. And so he was a motorcycle racer in his day in France, and he just took us all around the country for a week and a half. And what's wild about Costa Rica is in the center, it's much like, we'll say San Diego. Beautiful weather, nice mountainous ranges surrounded around you. But there's a little bit of everything in that country. There's high desert, there's volcanoes, there's rainforest, jungles, there's beachfront, grasslands, rolling hillsides. Imagine all of the America's landscape is compacted into the size of half of Ohio. And that's the country, but it has beaches on both sides. And the people there are amazing. I mean, just truly so friendly, so happy, and they live very minimal lives compared to us here in the States. And you can see that, hey, you don't have to have the latest shiny trinket in order to be happy. And they're so family oriented. And all we did was stay in Airbnbs. And there was this one woman that we stayed with. I'll never remember her name. But she was like 75 years old. And just all the time she would have these motorcycle riders coming and staying at her house. And then she made us lunch whenever we arrived. And she lived in this beautiful like mountain valley range that had this huge freshwater lake. And she walked us over to her neighbor's house, and we ate dinner with her neighbor. And it was this big family, and like they literally made you feel like you were part of the family. I mean, imagine if somebody just showed up at your door and said, "Hey, I'm ready to eat dinner." Well, come on in.
Right.
We're making
sit down.
Right.
That's what we're having.
It's right. And it was, and just that was the experience every single night that we were there. The people there are so welcoming, and plus it's cool for them to get to meet Americans, and for us as Americans, it's cool to get to meet Costa Ricans. Anyway, as I went on that trip, and I was able to have some freedom, both on the motorcycle of just cruising through the most beautiful country on this adventure touring bike, and not being geographically stuck in the state of Kansas, out on the back roads delivering packages. I realized I can't do this when I want if I'm stuck at FedEx. And plus being so low in seniority, I was never going to get the good vacation days off. I mean, like there were people that had been there for 30 years that weren't getting, Christmas or not Christmas, but like the day after Christmas off. And so it's stuff like that where I realized I'm not ready to put in 30 years to get a day off, So whenever I came back to the States, I gave my manager my 2 weeks. And I was like, here we go. Let's do this,
So were you single or married?
I have a girlfriend. Yeah, I've had a girlfriend for we're coming up on 6 years now.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Aubrey, my girlfriend, is so supportive of everything that I do. And she saw whenever I came to her and I said, I think I'm going to quit my job. She was like, good. You're miserable.
That's awesome.
Yeah. She could see it.
Hang on to her.
I am. Yeah. She could see that I was, out of step, by being locked into that line of work. So that was exactly 2 years ago. Whenever I got home from Costa Rica, was around this exact time 2 years ago. I went into business for myself, not knowing anything about it. But I figured, hey, and this is right whenever the pandemic started, and everybody was going into lockdown. And so I figured, well, if I can start a business right before a global pandemic and make it through that, then I can do anything. And sure enough, I made it through with flying colors. And my sticker business has just been up and up. And it's actually gotten to the point now to where I turn people away. As I had that freedom, now I have freedom. I'm not I can go anywhere that has, either I can airdrop stuff to my phone, or if I have Wi-Fi, I can do anything because I'm not stuck running a printing press. Okay, so that kind of gave me a lot of freedom to just go ride and race wherever, whenever, and live my best life that I've always wanted to do. And yet I'm still making money doing decals. And as I started getting closer to the end of summer, I just kind of, took a reflective point of what do I want? What's something that is going to be a challenge to me that I know that I've never done, that obviously has motorcycles involved. And that's where I got the idea to start a race team. And in the 2020-2021 season, I got a little bit of help from Cycle Zone and some of the people that I had been partnered with previously. And I got another kid from Kansas City who lives about 20 minutes down the road from me, Brandon Yates, to be my teammate. And I knew that if I wanted help, I needed more than one man on the track, representing the companies that, have helped us. And so that's where the team idea came in. And Brandon needed help also. So he rides Husqvarna FC250, and Huskies are Husky is entirely owned by KTM. So it's the same exact motorcycle. A few components are slightly different, but we retrofitted his bike with KTM plastics, and it looked the exact same. And so I did a really wild sticker kit for our first year, and we showed up to the races. And my buddy Brock, that owns ATC Fitness in Memphis, which is around the clock. It's a 24-hour, much like Snap Fitness or other, just key fob service chain of gyms. Brock, who I grew up with, he wanted to be part of it. And then I knew a guy from Omaha that owned I don't have one with me, but an insulated beverage and snack container, and it was called Flipside. And it's 20 ounces on one side of insulated beverage containment, and then like 10 ounces of dry goods. You can put a GoPro, keys, snacks, whatever on the other side, on the flip side. And between Brock and Ben and then a couple of our other partners, we were able to raise enough cash to go do the full Hoosier Tire Arenacross Outlaws series. And it's geographically convenient for us because that whole series is built around the Midwest and the Mid-South. Okay. So Arenacross is, we'll call it motocross inside of a bottle. It's usually inside of, in our series, rodeo, equestrian, ice hockey, basketball arenas, that kind of stuff, exposition centers, that are not huge. The classic Arenacross track is 85 foot wide. I should say the floor is 85 foot wide by 275 feet long, which is round about the same exact dimensions as a hockey arena. And that's, from dasher board to dasher board is how you would measure that. So Arenacross is very tight. It's very small. My personal riding style that I developed over time thrives on big, fast, open tracks. So when I set out to have a challenge, I knew that Arenacross was going to be really tough for me. And I had been racing Arenacross since 2004 and as a pro. And I actually had my first year in 1995, I started racing PJ1 Super Arenacross, which was, 2 years into the sport being even a thing. And I was on mini bikes. And so I had a storied history with Arenacross. I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew that it was going to be difficult. I knew that my talents were not good at that. But instead of saying, I know that I'm not good at it, so I'm not going to do it, I said, I know that I'm not good at it. That's what makes me want to do it. And then bringing Brandon in and developing the team, and then wanting to develop my own riding skills and try to get good at something that I wasn't good at. And we had a fantastic first year. And Brandon ended up tearing his, I can't remember, left or right ACL 5 rounds in. And so it was up to me. And Brandon was a far more talented rider than I was. And just by attrition, I managed to get fifth overall in the season, which was unbelievable. To even earn a single digit national number in the series is huge. So the way that works is every main event, it pays 25 points for first place. And then at scale, 14th is like 7 or 8 points. And it, chops down every position. At the end of the championship, the rider with the most points wins. So I had fifth most points scored over the 20 rounds of racing that we did. That was a huge accomplishment for me. And
this is first season out.
This is my first season out, yes, sir. And so that made me realize, hey, I'm actually good at this. It kind of took me back. Now, I didn't go out and get fifth in every single main event repeatedly, but by being consistent, making just about I made every main event but 3, and because you have to qualify and through time qualifying, then heat races. But I just rode really consistent and was thinking big picture, full championship. I want to be single digit by the end of the year. And sure enough, I earned number 5. And that kind of opened a lot of doors, plus having, the other rider to show, hey, we're serious. This is an opportunity to thrive for companies much like SP Tools to get to partner in a motorsport that has NASCAR or F1 level involvement at club racing price.
Right.
And so that was, and like whenever we reached out to you guys, and sure enough, SP Australia is connected with KTM and Yamaha over there. And so obviously, as the parent company understands, or I should say the manufacturing company understands, motocross is cool, and dirt bikes are cool. And there are a lot of people that see this is what we want to be assimilated with. And like, as we continue to grow and achieve these results and build, it's only going to get better. And obviously, as we've got a lot of really great partners, including you guys. I mean, SP has done wonders. I mean, the tools that we got to use this year, especially, I can tell you right now, on just Friday night, I had a major electrical issue on the bike, and I had to splice a wire and do the stripper and the SP automatic.
The auto strippers.
Oh my! I'd never seen anything like that before. Yeah, and so I mean, that thing it literally saved the day by having that professional tool. That really saved me, because my bike just wouldn't start. It was the starter cable. So the switch was still working. The button that's on the handlebars was still working. But as that cable goes down, there's a four prong connector that has a double redundancy in it. Thank goodness, because I was able to take one of the redundant wires out. And now, I'm not an electrician. I don't know anything about.
You just need to get back out there and race.
That's right. So I made it work, and then we did a little just tied it in a knot and the heat shrink and lighter after using that auto stripper, which was an amazing tool. I mean, that's something everybody has to have in their garage, and like, if it's not something that you use on the daily, keep that thing in stock for emergencies, like I had the other day. So, but circling back to the Arenacross series, it's only gaining steam. Last season, we were streamed live on Flow Sports, or Flow Racing, which Flow Sports is massive. They cover over 300,000 sporting events all across the globe through independent independent producing partners, and then they package up whatever sport it is that they're covering, and then it's streamed through Flow. That got us in the door this year with Fox Sports. So now our series was aired post-production pretty much every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. on Fox Sports 1.
That's awesome.
Yes, and so our FS1 coverage, has only elevated the series, and now the Hoosier Tire Arenacross Outlaws are the premier Arenacross championship in the country, and I would almost say in the world. There's a really good one in Great Britain. They don't have the length of championship that we do, whereas we're doing 18 nights of racing, and each night has 2 main events.
When does that season start?
So it starts typically the second week of November, and then goes through the last week of February. So it's a 4-month affair.
Okay, so this past race was your last race.
Correct. It was the finals of the championship. It held in Tunica, Mississippi, which is just south of Memphis.
Okay.
Tunica has a fantastic exposition center. It's I would call it an equestrian center because of the secondary building next door that's all built for livestock showcasing. It's a concrete floor building that seats probably 5,000 and then has sky boxes on each side. Also in Tunica, you have not a Golden Nugget, but there's a couple Caesars properties, MGM, and then Hollywood and Samstown. So it's a cool little center of just attraction. And of course, there's a Waffle House there, so we had to go there, as everywhere in the South. You can sit in a Waffle House.
Anywhere in the Southeast, you're going to find a Waffle House.
You can sit in a Waffle House and see a Waffle House down the street.
If not, you've gone too far north.
So we wrapped up the championship there, and through just consistent results all season long, Dylan Cloyd, who was our consistent man, Dylan ended up 4th overall in the championship with 538 points, or however many it was.
That's awesome.
Dylan's a fantastic rider. He is, by every means, a true professional whenever it comes to the way that he runs his day-to-day life. Dylan is a dispatcher broker for his mom and uncle's transportation company.
Okay.
Now it's a family business, but I'm gonna tell you right now, it's no small business. I mean, they have trucks operating 25 hours a day, 8 days a week around the nation, doing LTL, dedicated, everything under the sun that a logistics transporter would do. Plus, he also brokers for other affairs. Dylan, because he is so good at conducting himself, which he learned being a dispatcher, he learned how to keep cool, and his personality that he has built over his lifetime reflects out on the racetrack. He never loses his cool, never gets in all out, just wars with other guys. If there's a collision on the track with another rider, Dylan's just going to smart his way or outfox his way around another competitor. And that's how he managed to finish 4th overall. His best race finish was 4th in any main event, and he was on the podium a couple times and just had weird luck. One time somebody hit what's called a tough block, it's these foam blocks that line the course, and it's both a track barrier and kind of a safety device in case you crash and you're going towards the wall. You hit the tough block and it's foam and it deflects you. Somebody hit a tough block in front of him while he was in second place. Actually, in third place, it was a lapped rider hit it, and then Dylan was right there. Wrong place, wrong time, hit the tough block, got it wrapped up in the bike, and went from 3rd to 12th. That happened twice throughout the season. So he belonged on the podium, wasn't able to achieve it. But nevertheless, at the end of the season, he got to hoist a trophy that we're taking back to Topeka to display at the Cycles on KTM dealership, because in order to win an award with the series, you have to be at the last round. Okay, so the top 3 in championship points, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, get a cash payout and a championship award. If you're not there, you're out. So that's the incentive to finish the season, and it's a substantial amount of money, and it's a pretty...
Got to be present to win.
That's exactly right, yeah. And, I mean, that we were committed to the whole series, and we even had one event get canceled due to a power outage from an ice storm, and we were the only pro riders that showed up. And so, I mean, that just shows that we were committed to the series. I drove, it was the worst imaginable conditions in my, Dodge pickup with a 14-foot trailer. and I drove from Kansas City to Memphis in the ice, just ice the whole way. But we showed up, we were present, we were ready to be there. And that's the type of characteristic that, Dylan and myself, and then Brandon, our rider that finished the season for us. So we started with another individual, Drake Bailey. Drake, real talented rider out of Southern Illinois. Drake had a hand injury 3/4 of the way through the series, and as you guys know, I made a guarantee that we were going to have those motorcycles on the track. So I reached out to Brandon Walther out of Denton, Texas, and I said, Brandon, you're a talented individual. I need somebody. You need a ride. Let's make this happen. So we negotiated a deal, and Brandon finished the series out for us. Ended up actually getting us 2 podiums. Which was a huge accomplishment whenever we started this season. So last season, the first year as ATC Flipside Racing, it was, let's just finish the season. Let's just see what happens, and then that'll be our baseline, and then we'll go from there. This season, I hired some talented riders, and I wanted a podium. I wanted all 3 of us to be in top 10 in points to earn those single-digit numbers, and we achieved both of those goals. And so, now moving forward, it's, the goals are going to be elevated. But, to recap this season with the Outlaw Series, we smashed every goal. We were there. We were awarded the best feature team, or I can't remember what the verbiage of it was, but we got an award for being the top pro team of the series, even though we never won a race. Our presence and our presentation and our cooperation with the series, really impressed the promotion group that puts on the event, and they're thrilled to have us, and like, that's the thing, is like, wherever I go, whatever operation it is that I'm doing, I want to be the feature team, the feature operation. I want to be the gold standard, and a lot of that just comes from asking questions. Fox, who's a very important partner to me, their brand manager, Austin Hoover. Whenever I first started going with this idea of this team, I asked Austin, I said, Austin, you've worked with Factory Honda, you've worked with Factory Kawasaki, you've worked with all of these major manufacturers. What is it that they do right and wrong that makes them what they are? And he gave me, a whole 101 of how to conduct the team. And it's by asking questions like that and like really making that like the keystones of which I operate this team. And I want to be better than, Hendricks or Penske or Red Bull, in Formula One. I want to be able to operate on a higher level than that. But obviously, we're just racing motorcycles here in the middle of the states.
But you're having fun.
That's right. But we're having fun.
That's the important thing, man. You're having fun.
Absolutely, and we're achieving results. And like, obviously, every day is another inch. But whenever you turn around and reflect at that starting point, we're miles away from where we started. And as we talked before we went on air, I'm very specific about the words that I use, and I say we every time. It's always we, because yes, I'm guiding the ship essentially, but I can't do it without my partners and without, my riders and everybody that helps, from friends, family, sponsors, partners, everybody. It's a we thing. And I think that that's something that's going to differentiate our program as it develops, as it continues to grow from where we were at in year 1 now to year 2, and where I have my sights set on year 5 and year 10. It's I think that we're going to be a serious force to be reckoned with as we go into the next phase of the team, which is next season we're going to continue competing in the Hoosier Tire Arenacross Outlaws, which I believe we're going to get a different title sponsor for the series, but that's neither here nor there. And then we're going to compete in Monster Energy Supercross in the 250 East division. So in Monster Energy Supercross, which that is the biggest off-road motorcycling championship in the world. It's the most premier. It's the most prestigious. It's the top echelon.
Is that Arenacross as well, or outside?
So Supercross is in football and baseball stadiums. Arenacross is in hockey arenas, basketball arenas, etc. So it's the next step up. So
it's bigger. It's still indoors or in stadiums.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So instead of playing at let's say the Wells, or instead of racing inside of the Wells Fargo Center inside of Des Moines,
right
now we're racing inside of what used to be the Edward Jones Dome in St. Louis,
right,
at AT&T Stadium in Dallas. At University of Phoenix Stadium where the Cardinals play. So that's, it doesn't get any higher level than that, where the NFL team plays, or the NFL teams play, and the Major League Baseball teams play. That's where we're going to be racing. So in Supercross and Motocross, there's two engine sizes. There's 450s, which those are the big bores, and then you have 250s. And we race 250cc motorcycles in Arenacross because the tracks are so tight. That's the best package motorcycle that you can ride. Now, you could ride a 450 if you wanted to, because it is open pro racing.
It's tough to open it up.
That's right. I mean, it's
bigger, heavier,
tougher to ride. Exactly. So we choose the 250cc motorcycle, and we choose the KTM. It's the ultimate package. It's really hard
Still
to beat
a quick
KTM.
bike.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, these 250 4-stroke motorcycles, they're producing stock like 45 horsepower, and they're right at 200 pounds. So the power to weight ratio plus the torque of them, and it's unbelievable. They're literally a rocket ship on wheels with suspension travel. Oh. And so
but what you're running isn't stock.
I know, sir. I know.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next step is Monster Energy Supercross. And the 250cc classes are split in half, the east and west regions. And most of what we do is outside of Minneapolis, St. Louis, Dallas, and Houston. Pretty much everything else is on the coasts. So from MetLife Stadium in New Jersey to Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. We're going to be in Daytona next weekend, racing on the International Speedway infield, and then we also, I think we go to Atlanta Motor Speedway also. Sometimes they'll do Tampa, Orlando, etc. So that's the biggest stage, and those races air live on NBC. And so we want to compete in the 250 East division of that championship series. So that's the next step. Now we're also going to tie that in with Hoosier Tire Arenacross Outlaws. So we're going to start in November with Hoosier, and then finish with Monster Energy in throughout the rest of the year, which goes...
Is there overlap to those seasons?
Well, there sometimes. The 250 East division is the one that starts second. The series, the Monster Energy Supercross Championship always starts on the West Coast at Anaheim, where the Angels play. Reason being, it's always nice there. So they do Anaheim, San Diego, Oakland, Phoenix, etc. All those West Coast rounds, they start on the West and then work their way east as the weather starts to break on the East Coast due to winter. Okay. So that's why the East Coast series is second, in the calendar. So that gives us the opportunity to do 2 championships on the same exact equipment without having to retool or rebuild the bikes. There will be some differences, but for the most part, it's the same equipment.
Okay.
So next season, that's the next step for what it is that we want to do is get our feet wet in Supercross. Now, obviously, we'll be in year 3 as a team operation, but year 1 in Supercross. But the talent that I've been scouting and the riders and athletes and mechanics that I want to bring in order to do this, I mean, we're going to tackle it like a veteran team with extremely skilled riders that know how to go out and compete on that level, that will be able to thrive. And also, those racers that are well seasoned in Supercross are going to come into the Arenacross series, top talent, and next season we're going for a championship. I want one of my athletes to be able to hold up that number 1 plate. I mean, just plain and simple. That's what I'm shooting for, and whatever we have to do to get to that point is what will be done. I mean, full stop. That is where I'm at, with this team. And
so you're a driven guy. So my takeaway from this is you're driven.
Yes, sir.
Where does that drive come from?
To be honest with you, I don't know. It's just, I just have it. I mean, I wake up.
Has it always been there?
No.
Or is this is what was the trigger?
I don't necessarily, I think what it was is I got that freedom whenever I left FedEx. And I got a taste for it, as you have done for yourself.
It took you out of the box. It took your handcuffs off.
That's right, yeah. And I realized,
and then you were like, look out, watch me go.
I'm going to spread my wings. And, and now obviously, and it's not about power or money or being in control or being the boss. It's building something that is a well-oiled, well-functioning machine, a cooperative unit that everybody thrives within. That's what I want to do. And obviously it's a love of labor. I wake up, no joke, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, jacked, like
ready to go.
Yes, I can't wait to start the day, I've got a whole job sheet that I write down at the closing of every business day of everything. And I'm old school. I have because my grandpa had them, I've got pink tablet paper that I just write down, with my little Pilot G2 pen. Every day I write down, okay, here's all the things I have to do tomorrow. Here's the things that I didn't get done today. Here's the things I did do today, and so I roll into the next day. I wake up, I go into the kitchen, I do my pour over with my coffee, and then I walk into my office, and it's 4 o'clock, 4:30, whatever, and I'm hyper, I'm laser focused. My girlfriend, she's still asleep, so I have my opportunity to just
it's quiet, it's peaceful.
Yes, be totally focused, and I'll put my earbuds in, and okay, so how there's people that say I'll listen to everything. Yeah, I like everything. I literally listen to everything.
Me too.
and like, I don't care if it's, like some days I'll be doing, Mozart and Tchaikovsky, and then other days I'll be doing medieval lute, and it's a lot of and then sometimes I'll just be doing like, 305 worldwide of Pitbull, and just whatever. It doesn't matter. Like I get in that zone, and I get in that flow state. I start making stuff happen. And I'm typing my emails. I'm getting the parts ordered, and I'm checking inventory, and I'm managing, the riders, and I'm booking travel, and I'm doing this, that, and it's like this whole cacophony of stuff that I absolutely love. And it's having all these gears spinning at one time that it just, that it's just being that center cog, and keeping that turning and seeing everything else. It's almost like, just perpetual motion.
Yep.
Where whenever something else does well, it makes me go into a higher gear. And then everything else on the outskirts benefits from it also. So to answer your question, where does drive come from? It's just little pieces of success and little bits that build momentum, and then it just, the pendulum swings back and, back and forth. And I'll do decals and art until lunchtime, and go meet with my trainer, my personal trainer, and work out with him. And then I get a second wind, and then I'll go to the dealership, because right now I'm the only employee of the team. My riders are contractors, but I'm the only employee of the team. And I am, I'm manager, owner, transport driver, mechanic, technician, bike washer, coordinator, travel agent, sponsor and partner, negotiator, and relations. I do PR. I do all of our team art, our social media, everything. And I love it. Now it's going to get
sounds like a part-time job.
Yeah. And so a lot of times I'll go to the dealership and I'll work on the motorcycles on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then, Thursday we're leaving to go to the next race. And I love it. And it's that, and it's waking up and having a sense of purpose and having a thing to do, and knowing if I don't get this done, I have people that are counting on me. And I hate whenever someone's disappointed or feel like I didn't follow through. That's like my worst fear. So maybe that's the drive, is that,
That's what drives me.
Yeah, it is letting other people down. I refuse to do it. I just, and the thing is, I brought up Austin Hoover earlier. One of the things that he, really emphasized to me is communication. And I'm always checking in. Are we doing a good job? Do you feel like your investment is whether it's time, money, parts, whatever, it doesn't matter. Do you feel like you're getting a return? Or do you feel like at least we're doing a good job? How can we continue this to grow?
Right.
And that's motorsports, or teamwork as a whole. It always has to be everyone is involved equally and feels like they're part of this thing because it is a team. It's it's an our operation.
So that drive and all of that workload has got to make it difficult for you to compete at a high level because you're not able to focus. I'm imagining you're not able to focus specifically on competing. So is there a transition plan from actively competing to just leading the team, or?
So to that point, by comparison, so everything that I do for the team it's not easy. Okay. By comparison to suiting up, going out and racing and competing, it's the easiest thing in the world. Racing this year was really hard for me. Emotionally, physically, because
you got to be in the zone. If you're going to compete, you got to be, it doesn't matter what you're racing. You got to be,
that's right.
You got to be mentally clear and be in the moment.
To, show up at the races on Thursday, do our whole pit, set up, get everything, make sure all the T's are crossed and those I's are dotted. And then be the first one to show up to the track or to the arena before my riders. The bikes are prepped, everything's ready to go. All the, we've got our fuel depot set up outside, because you can't keep the race gases. It's oxygenated, so we can't keep it inside. The bikes has to stay in the metal pails. So there's a lot of pieces that are moving. Plus, I'm dealing with the promotion group, coordinating who's coming out for opening ceremonies, when do they need, where are they coming out of. Plus, I'm running our social media. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on right up to timed qualifying at 5 o'clock. And then I have to turn it all off. I have to put my gear on. I'll put my little skull candies in, put on whatever feels like it's going to motivate me for the night. And then, it's just put that gear on, totally switch, it is a total switch. And I'm hyper-focused on just me, my body, my motorcycle, like any, man with machine, you get into that, same thing in like Avatar, whenever the big blue dude sticks his connector into the horse's hair. That's exactly right, yeah. And so getting into that zone and having to go out and lay down a competitive lap time. So the way time qualifying works is it's similar to many motorsports. We have 2 practice sessions that are 7 laps, and you go out and you just get a couple laps in, figuring the track out, how the soil is, how your body needs to react to it, the way the rhythm sections are, if there's anything odd about the track, whatever, be prepared for it. And then you lay your heater, and then you try to do it again and again. You typically will do 2 or 3 sight laps, 2 heaters, a brake lap, and then your last lap again is another heater. And it's tough. And like for me, the racer that I am, I'm the kind of guy that builds steam on the track. So I get faster the longer the duration, and I get into that flow state. So for me to have just gone from team principal, coordinator, social media guy, chief mechanic,
just take the hat off, put the helmet on.
Right. Yep. Exactly. It's a pretty big transition, and that has been one of the hardest things to learn to do, but I feel like I did a pretty good job of doing exactly that. And it was not a task that I feared. It was a task that I looked forward to as an opportunity of how do I figure out how to do this? And, I didn't do any, self-help books or listen to any, guided meditation or listen to any podcasts or anything. I'm just like, I want to get my hands on it And then as the weekend is over, on the drive home, whenever I put on my transportation hat. Whenever I'm the rig driver on the way home, I take the time to reflect and be introspective and figure out, what did I do wrong? How do I do this better? And that built it to where I was able to flip that switch, put that helmet on and go out, do time qualify, put in a good lap time, and put myself into the night show every time, and then go out, race the heat races, qualify into the mains, which is a tough task. I mean, it is an extremely stacked, very talented field of riders that come to these races. And while you're out there and you're doing it, and like, I know, like, the light at the end of the tunnel, it's right there for me whenever it comes to indoor racing. And as you brought up the transition, knowing that the end of the road was happening this February for me as a professional racer, I was having a little bit of senioritis that kids do have, in high school whenever they're about to graduate. Mm-hmm. But, I kind of pumped the brakes on that. I was like, no, like yes, I operate the team, but I still hired myself as an athlete to go out and submit those results that the team deserves, which was tough to do, against the competition. I mean, there was some wickedly talented individuals that we were racing against. And, full disclosure, at the first round in Topeka, whenever we had our season opener, and in the first night on Friday, I mean, I think we had 37 riders, 37 pro racers. Now, mind you, 14 go to the main. So less than half qualify into the main event. And there was some serious mercenaries, heavy hitters, guys that are absolute lifetime killers on dirt bikes that are there. And in the first pro main, I qualified in. And whenever you're out on the track and you're doing it, I got a really good start, just held my own line, was consistent. And whenever I pulled off of the track, and I look up, and on the Jumbotron, it shows that I, qualified in, because they take the top 6. I just started crying. I couldn't believe it, because and as I'm riding back to the pits, and, I still have my helmet. I kept my helmet and my goggles on as I'm sitting in the pits, just because I'm getting choked up thinking about it now. But all the emotion of knowing this is my last year, and I still have it. I've been racing Arenacross since 2004. Here I am, 18 years later, and I'm still at the top of the game. And I'm not trying to, pat myself on the back or anything. I'm just saying that this is an extremely hard sport, and to go into it, after taking some time off,
still be able to compete. Yeah.
Just to compete alone is worthy of a cry, and I came off of the track, and it was just such a wave of happiness of, I still have it, because I was worried that I just was not going to be able to perform for the team. And then sure enough, made it right into the first main and had a great showing that first night. And that set the tone for the rest of the season, and gave me the confidence that I needed to go out and execute that kind of stuff. And plus, Dylan, the machine, he had a fantastic weekend, and so did Drake, who opened the series for us. Drake did really well, and we were against some serious top talent. And then to carry that momentum through all 36 main events, it's so tough to do. That's a lot of racing.
Well, you're fighting. What you guys do is dangerous. It's really easy to get hurt.
Yeah.
So, speaking of that, any major injuries or?
How much time do you have? Yeah, I've had a few. I've been under the knife a couple times. I've had some serious operations. It's a literal laundry list of injuries, and obviously the worst ones are the concussions, the head injuries. I had a really bad one actually in December while I was training. Had a weekend off and wanted to go, stay sharp. Just had the tiniest little crash on some really hard dirt.
Smacked your head pretty good, though.
Smacked my head really good, yeah. And I mean, I broke my. It's rare that you break a helmet, and I broke my helmet and cut my nose real bad because I have terrible vision, so I have to wear my glasses when I ride. I've tried contacts; they slip down or fall out while I'm racing. I don't know what it is that I do with my eyes, but it doesn't work. So I race with glasses, and I wear these plastic ones because they're safer than metal ones or just glass glasses. And I hit my head so hard on the ground that it smashed in, cut the bridge of my nose real bad. All around my eye was all bruised and cut up. Had to get a bunch of stitches. The whole left side of my body was all, road rash and turned into strawberries, and tore, some ligaments in my hand, and, broke my 2 fingers and one of my knuckles and my thumb. And
that was in December?
That's in December, yeah. So that's halfway through the season. Still had,
Still got to show up and,
that's right.
and go to work.
Mm-hmm. That's right, yeah. And I mean, that's what I made the promise to the team that I was going to do that. And that was my job. And so I showed up. I didn't care how I was going to finish.
You got guys that get the sniffles and can't make it to work.
Right, yeah. This isn't soccer,
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah. So we...
You mean you guys don't fall down and grab your knee and your ankle and wince in pain, right?
Yeah, no.
And then when you look at the playback, nobody even touched them.
That's right. I mean, and like I said, I had hit my head on the ground, and it's not that it scared me. It reminded me of my mortality, and that at any time it can happen. A small crash can result in a huge injury. Yeah. And we had 2 competitors in the season this year, John Barry and Brock Lassiter, both of them coming off of going through a rhythm section. The track was real slick. Brock got wheel spin, had to check up, tried to go double, triple. John had a good drive coming out of the corner, also got wheel spin, but still had enough drive to triple into the rhythm section. Well, as he got wheel spin, that shifted his body weight off to the left side. Brock, on the other hand, when he got wheel spin, he was on the left side, shifted him over to the right. John landed right on top of him on his back, frame first on the back of, Brock's head. And I mean, both of them got very seriously injured. I mean, they both got up and walked away from the crash. Brock broke his jaw, scapula, broke one of his, I'm pretty sure he broke his vertebrae, had a shoulder separation, maybe a hand injury also. John broke his arm, broke his elbow, broke his shoulder, collarbone. I mean, it was bad. Brock also had a collapsed lung, and I mean, it was just the tiniest little incident. I mean, whenever you're racing 200-pound motorcycles, plus the rider on top of it, like I said, inside of a bottle. Those kind of events happen,
right?
And I had 2 really good crashes in Council Bluffs. Just had another rider get a little squirrely in front of me, and it caused me to shift my body weight whenever I landed in this rhythm section. Just back in, just came right around, and then Brock Lassiter, he was right behind me, and as I was landing, the rear end kind of just spun out. The dirt was real weird there. It looked like it had, you had good traction, real good cushion, but didn't really hold. Came in, landed off of this jump on the backside, and then there was one more single before this left-hander, and as I came down, the rear end lost traction. Then I went off of that single, and the bike spun out. Brock was in the air, committed right behind me, and I was laying right there, and he had nowhere to go, and I mean just clobbered the back of my head. Didn't give me a concussion. I was fine. Thank goodness, we use good protective equipment, Fox V3 helmets, top of the line. I mean, if I wouldn't have been wearing that helmet, it would have been a different situation. Same thing whenever I crashed training, had a similar helmet on, another Fox V3. Got up from that one, and that was on Friday. That was a tough one. Good lick, and at the time my hand was still fresh from the training injury. Came back, and on Saturday night, over the finish line catapult double. It's this real big, 60-foot long, real tall jump. 2 guys got together in front of me, same exact thing. I shifted my body weight to the left, trying to compensate, thinking that they were going to crash, in the air. And what I didn't want to do is land on them or a motorcycle. And in motocross, there's whenever riders continue to take the same line, it develops a rut. And going up this jump face, there was a couple ruts. from us, just on the gas, and that rear wheel's driving and it throws the dirt and makes an indentation into this jump face. We got 2 or 3 ruts, and these guys collided together. And I was right behind them. I just barely shifted. And whenever I did, my front wheel kind of come up out of that rut and my rear stayed with it. I'm on the gas. And as that happens, it's called cross-rutting. Cross-rutted up the face. My bike, as soon as I take off the face, I'm like completely sideways. And I landed on top of the landing and it just swatted me. Full speed, as much inertia and torque as you can, G-force, everything, just swatted me down on the ground. And, knocked the wind out of me, just sent a shock through my body. And there's a really good photo that one of the series photographers got of me on my hands and knees. Bike's laying down on the ground. There's other guys racing past me, and I'm on my hands and knees. Just, I could have just laid there and took a second. As soon as I knew that nothing was broken, I got up on my hands and knees because I figured that's better than laying down, know. And it's that
waiting for somebody else to come by.
Right. Yeah. And my, and I'm like, trying to press against the ground to just get up, I don't, at that point, it's just get up and finish the race, because it's not about what place you get at that time right there.
No, it's just finishing.
It's finishing, because not only does it send a message to everybody, I get back up. I am in this to finish it regardless of position. It sends a message to yourself, because whenever you force yourself to get up and complete that task at hand, whenever you go back to the pits and you're sitting there, you're thinking about the crash and what happened and what can I do wrong, either way, you have it in the back of your mind. I didn't give up. I took a slam. I got back up. Got on the motorcycle, finished the race, and it's that repetitive action that then comes into play. It becomes part of your character. Later in life, you might have a situation where you get knocked down, whether it's financially or any life situation. It's those kind of moments that you learn from out on the motorcycle course that then apply later in life at some point. And it could be with business dealings. It could be at home. It could be with family, like I said, financially, whatever it is, just get back up. Finish the task at hand. If something gets thrown at you, and this is, I'm a big believer in this, the wrong decision is always to not decide at all.
I've heard that somewhere before, Bill. Once or twice I may have said that once or twice.
Right. Yeah. And it's even in a Rush song. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. Right. And so, that's it. There's a lesson in that, and it becomes part of your character, like I said. And, get back up, finish the task at hand. Even if it's not the result that you wanted, you can always look back and say, hey, you know what? I gave it my best effort. I gave it everything that I had. I did what I could. Lemons were thrown at me. Even if I can't make lemonade.
Left it all out there.
That's right. Yeah. So and that's, again, part of that laser focus of determination and the drive that you spoke of.
One of my favorite business quotes came from Michael Jordan. Somebody was asking him, what he attributed his success to, and his response was, he demanded more of himself than anybody else could even possibly expect.
Right.
And as long as he did that, as long as anybody does that, you'll find success in what you're doing.
Correct. And now the thing that you also have to accept with that is that success is something that only you can measure, right?
It's not success is not a monetary thing.
It has nothing to do with it.
Nope.
No, the money the money comes with success. It is a reward with success, but it doesn't That's not the driving goal.
Right.
There are people out there that to them, it's not about the money or what the money brings you, but to them, it's literally like a game of numbers.
Right.
And so that's like Wall Street. To them, it's just extracting, how do I get the most, you can call it score or points or whatever. It's just that those points you can take to the bank and,
right.
Buy a new car with, whatever. But for the thing about success is you have to be fluid with it. And you can say, a guy can set himself up and say, I want to be successful in X, Y, and Z way. If you set those goals and you can't get to them, well, instead of just having a full-blown come apart, which many people do whenever they don't quite get that success that they want, then they just give up. Part of success is not giving up, and to the Jordan quote is you do hold yourself to the higher standard, and something about that higher standard is leading through failure, which is part of success,
and pain and suffering and all the above.
The commitment, and that drive and it's, yes, I mean, you're in the stress and the sleepless nights and, worrying about, your employees or your contractors, your vendors, anybody that you're in business dealing with. And also there are times whenever, you have to, put your ego in your pocket and apologize because you did something wrong. That's part of success, and using that as a way to learn, And I'm not telling you anything that you don't know,
and humility is a big thing.
Absolutely.
Right? So the more success you have, the more humble you should be.
Should be.
Yes. Doesn't happen automatically.
Right.
It's success and humility are two separate things.
So let me ask you this: as the owner operator of this company of Cutting Edge and SP Tools USA, what are some of the keystones, benchmarks, et cetera, that you base your paradigm around to achieve that success, to have that well-oiled machine? Like, how do you measure?
There's two big litmus tests that I use. One is the team that I have around me. I believe that if you're going to be successful in anything, you have to surround yourself with good people. I've met a lot of business owners that have enjoyed success and drink their own Kool-Aid and believe that they did it.
Got it.
And the reality is you don't and you can't.
Right.
Braxton sitting over there in the off camera, extremely talented young man. I have no artistic ability at all. I'm a sales guy.
And the nicest guy you'll ever meet at the same time.
And so that's a twofer, but
right.
I can't do what he can do.
Right.
Doesn't matter whether I have the vision for the company or not. I don't have the skill that he does. And everybody that works for me brings that value to the company.
Right.
So I want to make sure that my team is fulfilled in what they're trying to do. That's a big part of the litmus, morale. Much
like Joe Torre has done or did with the Dodgers, or name any general manager or whatever, is understanding the value of a player's ability and putting him in a position to be able to thrive and flourish and express his talents.
And I've made mistakes at that. I like to think that my greatest skill is recognizing talent in odd places.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the people that work for me do not have a background in doing what they do.
Yeah.
Our warehouse manager and logistics manager does. And we tried that without somebody that had that background, and it didn't work out very well. Bill, our marketing director, the guy behind the scenes here, Bill did granite work. And one day, after he came to work for me, I bought the Adobe software and told him we were going to start doing videos and podcasts. And I heard, this is good editing software, figure it out. That's literally how he got his start in the marketing team.
But you saw something in him that you knew that he would thrive.
So
under those
Bill does some
circumstances.
awesome editing, and we're not a huge company with unlimited budgets.
Yeah.
And I've seen his skills and the material that he has to work with and what he can create with that is something special. And it's that when something just comes natural to you, then it's what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
I've overtasked people. I would say that maybe I'm not willing to say that they didn't have the talent that I thought that they did, but having the talent and then having the ambition to use it are two totally different things.
Yes.
And I think that there's been people on our team that I've overtasked because they just either at the time or just in what their goals for their life are, didn't want to take on the workload or the responsibility. So morale is part of that litmus. And then the other part is and I know this sounds cliche, but it's what I built the company on, is taking care of customers.
Right.
We don't get hung up on what the cost of taking care of a customer is.
Yeah.
Ever. It's do the right thing, and then the rest will follow.
And that builds long-term relationships.
Absolutely.
That, return customers are, depending by industry, typically 75% of a business's revenue stream is from return customers.
Yep.
So for you to develop a relationship with somebody that, whatever it takes. Yeah. Because you may have an account that lasts, the duration of you having this entire company.
Most of the people, so we originally started, my background is in diagnostics. I wanted to be able to service everything that a customer needed. And it wasn't just for the extra revenue. To me, part of serving the customer, it's very difficult to have 5,000 SKUs and try to warehouse that.
Yeah.
The marketing aspect behind it, all of the parts and pieces that go into supporting a product line that's 5,000 SKUs is much more than what we had to contend with just doing diagnostics. But my thought process was, if it's difficult for me to do, so therefore I don't do it, what I'm saying is my customer's not worth it. I want them to go somewhere else for their business. And a lot of people justify that by saying, well, I want to specialize in this. I specialize in taking care of my customers.
Yeah.
That's my specialty.
Yeah.
So if that means that we have to take on 5,000 part numbers, then we have to take on 5,000 part numbers, and we'll have to figure that out. And you're a logistics guy or logistics background, so you get the supply chain issues that we're dealing with right now. Is not fun. And it's far more demanding than what it was when we got into this. But again, I believe that our customers are worth it.
So, you mentioned that, you had a diagnostics background. Mm-hmm. What did you do before you started your own company?
So, I was a tech. So I've been in the automotive business since 89. I started in the automotive business in 89. By 91, I made the transition into, so I started as I like to say it, I started in this business ass backwards.
Okay.
So I started in the sales side of the business because I was chasing money and career.
Got it.
And I was working for Firestone, and the store manager was on vacation. Mm-hmm. So I handed out paychecks. And when I gave my lead technician his check, I noticed that they had taken more in taxes out of his check than I grossed in a week. And I was like, I'm doing this wrong. I'm on the wrong side of this business.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a mechanical background. I didn't grow up, with a father. My father did construction and home improvement work. So
not to interrupt you, was this whenever you were at Firestone? Was this around the same time they had the massive recall on tires?
So a few years later, I was working there when they had the recall for sure.
Okay, yep. I'm sure that was fun.
I'll get to that in 1 second.
Yeah.
So anyway, I made the commitment with the lead tech. I said, I want you to teach me everything that you know, and in exchange, I will come in on my days off and basically, be your unpaid assistant. Mm-hmm. And then I would come in. So there were 2 shifts. We had 7 to 5 and 9 to 7. So when I was scheduled to work 7 to 5, I would stay after 5 because he worked bell to bell. He lived in Pennsylvania, and he worked 4 days a week. So on those days where I came in at 7 and was to get off at 5, I would stay at 5 from 5 to 7 and work with him. Mm-hmm. Same with the 9 to 7. I would come in at 7 and work with him, for the first couple hours, and then I would go up front. In exchange, he taught me everything that he knew, anything that I wanted to learn. Ironically, he was a drivability tech. That was what he specialized in. So he did some brakes and suspension and other gravy work.
And this is at Firestone Service Center?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. But his specialty was drivability. So I learned more about drivability work than I did about the fundamentals. I had to actually pick up the fundamentals later on.
Yeah.
I had the advanced stuff down. I had to pick up the fundamentals later on. And I went between service management and actively turning wrenches up until I went to work for Snap-on. In 2003, I went to work for Snap-on in the tech program, mm-hmm. Selling and supporting diagnostic equipment for Snap-on. The Firestone recall happened a few years before. Would have been 2000 to 99, 2000, somewhere in there.
And were those tires coming off of the assembly line from Ford, or were they?
So they were the factory tire.
Was it on the Bronco?
Explorers.
That's okay.
Yeah. So what you'll never hear from Firestone or from Ford, because they both want to be politically correct,
right?
Somewhat. Ultimately, it ended a relationship that went back to Henry Ford and Harvey Firestone. I mean, that's how long Ford and Firestone were together. And that recall really destroyed that relationship. And the reason that it did was because Ford was blaming Firestone and Firestone was blaming Ford. My honest opinion, not because I worked for Firestone, mm-hmm. but the tech in me says that the problem honestly lied with Ford. Mm-hmm. Firestone's recommended air pressure they were Firestone radial ATXs.
Yes.
Firestone's recommended air pressure for those tires is 35 PSI. Mm-hmm. Ford built a horrible suspension for the Explorer.
Yeah.
And if you aired the tires up to 35, it gave a rough ride. So if you look on the old door placard, I think they had it set at 28
for a plusher ride, which
to counter their inability to have a proper working suspension system.
Compromise the sidewall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Explorer was a little top heavy as well.
Yeah.
So, bad storm of events and you end up where people die. And because of that, they both started pointing fingers at each other. Firestone said, "You're the one that didn't air the tires up properly." And the guys at Ford were pointing their finger at Firestone saying, "You built a defective tire."
And it was like 40,000 sets of tires?
Oh my goodness, man. They brought in, we looked like a Ford dealership. It was horrible.
Yeah.
So we were taking the tires off. We couldn't get, I was a service manager at the time of the recall. So my bonus, which was a significant part of my income, my bonus was strictly off of service sales.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a car in for service. All we were doing was tires.
Right.
And they were lined up and lined up and lined up. We had 40-foot containers that were there so that we could load the tires up. They were dropping 40-foot containers so we could load the tires up in these containers so they could haul them off. We'd have to drill a hole through the DOT numbers, through the sidewall.
And those tires, I'm sure, are now found in playgrounds all across America.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And, ironically, the customers that were part of the recall didn't want to get rid of the tires. They loved them.
Yeah.
They loved the radial ATXs.
It was a fantastic tire.
Just, wrong vehicle, wrong air pressure.
Yeah.
Ford's part of that recall was to change the door placard to a different air pressure for those tires.
Okay.
So yeah, it was
Quite
not
the
a fun
event.
time
Yeah.
in my career.
So, but you went to work for Snap-on then,
Yep.
and got acquainted with their diagnostic tools.
I did.
Yeah.
I did. And much like your experience with FedEx, I had ideas that I thought that there were better ways to take care of our customers.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Snap-on's a fantastic company. They do a lot of great things. That being said, they answer to shareholders and not to customers. And the answer to the shareholder isn't always in line with the best interest of the customer. So I wanted to go run my own program and figure out if my ideas were valid or not. Because it's easy to say, well, if I was running this show, I could do X, Y, and Z. And
if I'm the boss.
right. Then,
Yeah.
And the easiest way to do that was to, I didn't transition into working for myself straight away. I went to work for a much smaller diagnostic company called Launch. I think I was the fourth employee at Launch. Okay. They didn't have much revenue to speak of when I went to work for them. A few years later, I had built that program into a multi-million-dollar business.
So you knew you had the formula to succeed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, see, I told you. And that's where that humility comes in, because back then I was young and arrogant and cocky. And now I'm just arrogant and cocky. I'm no longer young.
Yeah.
So,
hey, at least you have the humility to admit it.
Exactly. But I do have the humility to admit my arrogance. So I left Launch and because of the time away from home. The last year that I worked for them, I went through 325,000 airline miles. That was basically living on the road. I was missing a lot of my kids growing up.
Yeah.
And I bought the Snap-on franchise in the area that I live in. I operated that for several years. I had an ethical dilemma with Snap-on. Didn't agree with some things, and decided it was time for me to go do my own thing.
So that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
It was. We were in a Snap-on has this thing called franchise development training. Okay. So if you're a Snap-on franchise, you go annually. It's kind of sharpen the saw type stuff. Focus on the business growth. What you're doing well, what you need to improve on, that kind of thing. And they had decided to do it in Minneapolis because we were going to go to Algona, Iowa, which is where Snap-on makes their KRL series, and their U.S. series toolboxes are made in Algona, Iowa. So we did it there so that we could go tour the factory. And the night before the tour, which was the day we were leaving, there was a little bar in the parking lot, and bunch of A-type personalities. We all ended up in the bar, and they've got this mechanical bull going around and on slow with this girl on the bull.
Yeah.
And Bill, you're going to have to edit this because I'm going to say it exactly the way this happened.
Okay.
My business manager, which is the guy that was responsible for, he's a Snap-on employee overseeing the franchise and the health of the franchise. He has to approve credits. He has to approve repos and all this.
Got it.
This, directly involved in my business.
Mm-hmm.
He had a few drinks, and he made the comment, I'd sure like
Mm-hmm.
And the guy standing next to me said, I'd rather go home and be with my wife. He turned around and he made the comment, I'd rather go home with one of your wives. Now, he was drunk, but that's really not an excuse.
Well, I mean, the Russians, what they do, and Russians are a hot topic right now, but the Russians, whenever they bring somebody into their social circle, they get you drunk to see who you really are.
Yeah. So do the Chinese.
Yeah.
So the Chinese believes that when you remove, alcohol removes your inhibitions,
Mm-hmm.
and with that removed, you see the character of the person.
Yeah.
It's okay to, pass out, act a fool, whatever.
Right.
But it shows the true nature of
Right.
the person is what they believe.
So you saw that.
And so, honestly, I really just wanted to punch him.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I didn't want it to be about what I did.
Right.
This was serious, and it was something that was going to touch my business.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm going to go to the region manager, explain the situation, and tell him, look, Cecil needs to be removed from my life.
Right.
I don't care how you do that.
Yeah.
I don't care if you fire him. I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
He is no longer my business manager.
Right.
He and I will never speak again. You got to get him out of my life. So he went to Snap-on took the corporate approach.
Yeah.
So they bounced that around HR for quite some time, trying to figure out what to do.
Right.
When all I really wanted was him out of my life.
Right.
And they came back and said, well, and I quote, this is something that happened in a bar environment after hours. It's really kind of a he said, she said. So we're sorry but there's nothing that we can do. But we did explain to Cecil what acceptable behavior was.
Well,
and I said, Barb, I have an issue with that.
Yeah.
If you have to explain proper behavior to a business manager, you got the wrong business manager to begin with. And more importantly, I know I was a Snap-on employee.
Yeah.
I know what his employee file looks like. I know how many times he's been written up. I know how many disciplinary actions he's had.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have a file on me because I was an employee.
Right.
Mine's full accommodations.
Yeah.
I've never been written up. I'm a guy that goes out and has properly represented the company, both as an employee and as a franchise.
Yeah.
And, how do I take my wife to a Snap-on function with him ever again?
You can't.
So the money was great. I made great money as a Snap-on franchise. But I decided it was, if I stayed there and I took the money, then
Mm-hmm.
I was just somebody's whore.
Right.
And the money wasn't worth my integrity. So I had recently recruited a guy to take over the Mobile route,
Mm-hmm.
and I called him and said, look, you really don't want that route that's been open for years. It's going to take you forever to get it cleaned up. I'm going to be selling my route. Why don't you buy mine? So I made that available to him. Snap-on ultimately ended up exercising their first right of refusal, and they took it back,
Yeah.
split it up into two routes, and put it, put two dealers in there. But at the time when that happened, I didn't know what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have there was no plan. I didn't have a sticker business to fall back on. And it was this surreal feeling that the last day when it was all done, you know, so we had to go out and verify all the money on the street because Snap-on bought, you know, since they were buying the route, they had to buy all the money that I had out on the street and stuff like that. So in that, in that busy time, you don't really have time to reflect on the reality that just happened. Mm-hmm. And then all the noise settles and they're gone. And what you have been doing for the last several years of your life is no longer a thing.
Right.
And you've never even thought about what you're going to do tomorrow to put food on the table. Literally.
Yeah.
It wasn't long after that I started working with Texa, which is an Italian company.
Right.
We're the main distributor for Texa products in North America. And then I've grown cutting edge, you know, since then. In 2015, I became the importer for Texa. And then I guess Jesse, my oldest son, came to work for me in late 2015, mm-hmm. October, November, somewhere around there. And then Bill joined somewhere around April or May of 16. Mm-hmm. I think right now we've got 35 people.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, we signed a deal with SP Tools and started bringing product in 2019 with SP. So that's kind of the background. It's, you know.
It's quite an evolution, though, especially
it is.
In 7 years.
And that's why I told you got to hang on to your girlfriend, right? Because my wife supported me the whole way through.
Yeah.
It was, you know, she said, if you want to stay and do what you're doing, that's cool. I get it. You know, we'll work through it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
But she would have supported me either way.
I mean, to that point, though, I felt the same way at FedEx as I was just 518-9203 to them.
Right.
You know, and that was it.
And that's really what it boiled down to. That was a realization for me, mm-hmm. that even though in our FPT and in our region, I was one of their better distributors, I was never going to matter to them. The only thing
you personally
were
right.
never going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
And even the numbers that I was turning didn't matter to them. Doing the right thing was not a thing that they were going to do.
No.
It became abundantly clear to me that that's the way it was going to be.
Right.
So it was time to move on and do something else. I look back, I don't regret it. I worked my ass off. When I was working for Texa, they didn't pay me any money at all.
Yeah.
So I was trying to sell equipment. At the same time, I was working on cars in my driveway to get money to pay the bills and keep the lights on, and so whatever it took to pay the bills. And it was tough.
Yeah.
Again, I think that struggle part of it was more important than the success that followed.
So in 10 years, have you thought about what your book title is going to be?
I have. Redemption.
Okay.
Redemption.
I like that. I can't wait.
I've already started writing.
Oh,
it.
Really? Have you?
I have. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it goes back to, just touching on, some of the struggles from being a kid as mm-hmm. well. I grew up in a broken home with, and we grew up, with nothing.
Yeah.
So, the one thing that I did inherit from my father was work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
So to this day, and they'll call bullshit on this, but to this day, I can outwork anybody that works here.
Okay. If you had to.
If I had to.
Yeah, if you had
that's
to.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, but
Bill's like, I don't know about that, Lee.
Yeah, but I mean, that's leadership, though. You have to be dedicated to be able to do something like that. And I mean, that's something that I take into my operation with my team is I will work circles around anybody on the team if I have to, whatever it takes. I will work 24 hours a day, I don't want to do that, but I'm committed to doing that if that's what the job demands.
Yep.
And next year as we grow, and I'm going to bring on, I'll have 3 riders, so I will actually have another rider. I'll have 3 riders and mechanics and more responsibilities, and a bigger race rig, and it's with that growth comes that more responsibility, and I'm prepared to take on that responsibility with that work ethic. And I learned that from my dad also, just like you did. He worked for Kansas City Power and Light, and worked for the light company for 36 years, and for I think it was 16 years was project manager. And but he started out just as a laborer, and then got it, and he serviced substations, and he was never a lineman, but he worked with those guys that put new transfer lines up, and worked a lot, but he also worked for a really good company that treated him very well, and so he had pride in that company,
right?
And had pride in his line of work. And it's not like my dad ever sat me down and told me, you have to, you got to have pride in what you do, or anything like that. But he didn't have to tell me, because he exhibited it.
Right.
And when we did talk about the light company, I could tell he was proud of himself for sticking through, and working the way to be management, and be a supervisor, and get to the point to have those, crews and direct reports, and to be able to, like the same thing that you're doing, is give them the tools that they need to flourish within the position that they're in.
Yeah.
And he never told me, here's what you got to do, but it was, I could just see it, and talking to a couple of his work buddies also, they would talk about the way that my dad led his crews, and it was never about my dad. It was never, he was never about, look what I've done, look how good a manager I am. He was just valued on safety first and foremost, in that line of work, is having a flawless safety record and getting the job done on time and under budget.
Yep.
And also my dad, because he was a lifetime motorcycle racer, he opened a motocross track in 1998 that he operated on the side. Plus he took me racing. So my dad was always doing something, and I think that that's where I got that personality trait to always want to be doing something. Now, don't get me wrong, dude, in my 20s, I was
useless.
Yeah, and an idiot too.
Absolutely
yes.
Useless.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But
I would fire me.
Yeah.
If my younger self worked for me, I would fire me.
My because my dad, he had a well-paying job, and he took care of the family extremely well. I had a first-class ride, with racing. And I was a factory rider. All I had to do was show up and race. Ride during the week. I didn't work on the bikes, nothing. Then I turned 16.
I had to fix the stuff that people threw away.
Yeah.
And we did.
Right. And see, I was on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. And then I turned 16, and my dad said, it's your show now. Everybody knows who you are. Nobody's going to make, because you got to be 18 to sign yourself up to race, to be an adult. But, there's the good old boy club. And so it was 16. He gave me the keys to the Chevy Silverado. And I had 3 motorcycles, and said, if you want to ride them, you have to take care of them. You have to pay for them. You have to pay for yourself to get there. You have to pay for yourself to race. It is your show now. He was overdoing so much.
Right.
But he also had to teach me a life lesson of, you lived your life like a king. Now you have to learn what it's like to be a peasant.
Right.
And I did. And I thought I was hot shit. I thought I was the top dog. And then I started having, stumbles and struggles that any arrogant 18-year-old would have. And then I got to the point to where I couldn't stand to look at motorcycles anymore, and I quit for a couple years because I felt like motocross had betrayed me. Like the industry had turned its back on me because I wasn't getting, the help. But really, the problem was me and my lack of work ethic, because I kind of grew up with a silver spoon. Now, because I had that taste of that kind of life and that kind of freedom, well, that's ingrained in my brain of that's how, that's the way to live life, is to not be beholden to someone else's directives and wishes. Yeah. So that's where I'm at. I want to be, again, like I said, I don't want to be the boss. I don't want to be, the manager and you have to do as I say. No, I want to have a well-oiled machine that everybody thrives within, and we're all happy. And most importantly, get to the point to where I can take my hands completely off of the controls and just watch it operate on its own, which I'm sure you have times like that.
I want to.
Yeah.
I'm too much of a control freak, though.
Okay.
I am. I don't know. There's this dichotomy in my brain that's like, all right, step back and just, I still don't take vacation, man.
Ugh.
I need to.
See, I'm
mentally,
yeah.
I need to just defrag at times. I take some time off during hunting season, and that's it.
Okay. See, on the opposite end of the spectrum, it is my goal to permanently be on vacation. Now, a lot of that I'm able to do because of my, my full-time business.
That's Bill's job.
That's Bill's job.
That's Bill's job.
Yeah. Or it's his directive.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but like, I want to be, okay, so, I'm going to stay in Florida over the next 2 weeks. That's my vacation after, the Arenacross series, which starts essentially in March is when I start rebuilding, rebranding, moving to that next stage. I want to take 2 weeks off, and just enjoy. My girlfriend's flying down. She's going to meet me in Orlando on Tuesday. I got an Airbnb in Orlando, and we're going to go to New Smyrna and enjoy, some springs and just do Florida stuff. Now, I also have the bikes with me, so I'm going to take advantage of that.
Awesome.
And ride when I can, and then I'm going to stay and then race one of the bigger, cool Grand Prix in America called Day in the Dirt down south. They do it on the West Coast, and that's Day in the Dirt, the original one, and they do Day in the Dirt down south, just outside of Tampa in Dade City.
Okay.
So that'll be my first time doing that race. So obviously, there's a couple carrots at the end of this deal that I'm really looking forward to. But I want to be able to go to the beach, have my little MacBook Air, and be working from the beach with my toes in the sand. Yeah, that's where that freedom of not being geographically stuck. And the thing is, I can make way more money than I do if I ran my own print press. It'd be 60-70% more, higher profit margin than what I have now.
But you'd have the equipment cost, you'd have the labor costs.
Never mind that. I'd be there. I'd be in Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not where I want to be. And the thing is like, there's not any one specific place that I want to live over another. I love it here. Gulf Shores was beautiful. I like being down here.
Yeah.
If I want to come here, I'm just going to come here.
Right.
I don't want to move here or move to Dallas and be caught up in the Metroplex rat race and that lifestyle. And I live in Lawrence, Kansas. It's a lovely little town. We have amazing food and a good culture because the university is there, and there's always new stuff coming and going because it's a 4-year turnover for most people that are there. And it's a small town, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but it's a great place to live. Kansas City as a whole, Kansas is extremely affordable. But because I live in a university town, I way overpaid for my house that I bought. But it
happens.
But by comparison, I have a fantastic place to live. I have a detached garage. I have everything that I need in a home base at a place that I love that's close to home. It's 40 minutes from where I grew up. What more can a man need? Plane tickets aren't that expensive.
Nope.
Car drives don't take that long. I have been coast to coast from Miami to Tacoma, racing motorcycles, from New Hampshire to Southern California, almost to the Baja. The world ain't that big, and I've driven everywhere across. So logging miles doesn't matter to me. I've got my system down. I know how to spend time behind the wheel. I got my podcast and Spotify, or just nothing at all, and get in that zone and just enjoy a life of luxury that so few people get to experience. In the town that I grew up in Belton, we lived on the outside of town, out in the country, but the school district that I was in wasn't a very good one. Belton originally was an Air Force town.
Okay.
And then the Air Force left. And when it left, so did the economy of that town. And so it was kind of left behind. The Air Force base shut down, and not that many people were left, and a lot of people faced a lot of hardship, and that really lowered the stock of the town. And so it was, more of a, we'll call it Blanco Basura. You speak Spanish at all? John will know what that one is. Yeah. And so it was on that end. So a lot of the kids that I grew up with had nothing. I mean, they had poor parents, poor homes, and here I am, and we were going racing out of town all over the country every weekend in our motorhome trailer, 5 motorcycles, all this, lived out on country. And I, I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway, it's Belton taught me a lot, and I realized, I know where I was going with that, is I realized that I live an amazing, not even, it's beyond a 1% lifestyle. What I get to do, just being a motorcycle racer to begin with, or someone that rides motorcycle, puts you in a small minority. But then to be talented at it, get paid to do it at some point in life, and get to experience all the life lessons that come along with the travel and spending time with my family and going all over the country, meeting people, becoming cultured, going and seeing, all the sites and this, the tourist traps. I mean, I can't resist Ron John. I'm going to tell you right now. Last night I went to Ron John and got a T-shirt.
That's funny.
Yeah, I
since I was a kid, me either.
Yeah, and there's just something about that place. And what's funny, you go to Kansas City.
It's like the cheapest stuff in the world, too.
Yeah, you go to Kansas City, there's Ron John shirts everywhere. Yeah, and then those stupid Salt Life stickers too.
Yes,
those drive me insane. But it's like, I love it. It's corny. Right. I love going to the tourist traps and see. I went to Mount Rushmore. I've seen, I've driven across the Golden Gate. I've been in the, the Redwoods. I've driven through the Moab. I've driven across the Bonneville Salt Flats. All because of motorcycles. And, I've seen so many things, Royal Gorge, the Rockies, the Everglades, everything, all because of dirt bikes. And at the end of the day, dirt bikes provide the reason to go, the reason to escape, the reason to get out. Life is way too short to just be geographically stuck to one area and be committed to a lifestyle where you're only able to get 2 weeks paid vacation plus 5 floaters. Like that's just, for me, that wasn't enough. Now there are people that really love that kind of lifestyle, and they love, that 9 to 5, that 9 to 5 work ethic. And those are, I mean, that's mostly Kansas City Chiefs football fans, and I know a lot of those people, and they're good people, and, they're blue collar, they're hard workers. I love those people. I grew up around them. They're part of, our entire economy, and without them, you and I wouldn't be able to succeed. But also without guys like you and me, well, they don't have a job, And so, as a dreamer, and I consider myself an entrepreneur, I feel so lucky, to be able to have talents, recognize them. And I'm just, barely stepping into the beginning stages of fruition. I'm 2 years in, and I can't wait for, 5, 10, 15, right. 20 years.
I can't wait to have you back in a couple years,
yeah.
To revisit,
right. Yeah.
Where are you now?
Right. And so, there's a lot of guys in motocross that are big names. Mitch Payton runs the Pro Circuit Kawasaki team. Bobby Reagan, he runs the Monster Energy Yamaha factory racing team. Those guys, they are, the gold standard of team managers and owners in motocross. And then there's Roger DeCoster, who runs the KTM group of KTM Husky and Gas. They are, the top of the top. They don't know who I am yet. Like, that's very specific. Those guys don't know who I am yet, but they will. And some of them, they will fear me as a competitor. And I know that down the road, I will be, at some point, I will be the guy that some kid is saying he doesn't know me yet. And I look forward to being able, that day, and that, it's not necessarily a passing of the torch, but that's my goal, is to be the guy that somebody says, well, he doesn't know who I am yet. Now, whether that takes 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I don't care. Right. It doesn't matter to me. I know that at the end of the day, this is what I'm supposed to do to run this operation, this machine. And I'm in it for the long haul, and I can't wait. It's so tough because a lot of people are asking me about this season. Over this last weekend in Tunica, are you ready to be done? And it's like, well, it's a two-faceted question, because on one side, as the athlete that's hired to the team that doesn't want to race anymore, get me off of the track right now. I am a liability. I don't want to do this. This is the toughest thing I've ever had to do, but I made my bed and I have to lay into it. On the other hand, as team principal, let's do 5 more.
Right.
We're building steam. We're making progress. Let's keep going. It's the series is the series, the length is the length. So it's I can't wait. I can't wait for more for the next season. It's something I'm really looking forward to. And also I'm going to figure out a way to do it different than everybody else. I want to do it differently than it's ever been done before. And I have whenever you get a puzzle box, you cut that bag open, you pour all the pieces onto the table, and some are cardboard side up. Okay, I'm in the process where I'm getting all the pieces sorted out to where the painting is upwards. Some of them, you catch, look, there's a corner piece, and you start doing the corners, that kind of stuff. And I'm just starting to get the edges, Now, whether it's a 200, 500, 1,000 piece jigsaw, I don't know. I don't even know how many pieces there is yet. So that's kind of my mindset going into this, is understanding I'm just getting the puzzle pieces flipped over. I'm starting to twist them around to see, here's an orange one. Let's put those with the group of orange, And it's exciting for me. Every time I get 2 of those puzzle pieces put together, and then I'm starting to see the bigger picture. But I know that picture, it's odd because I'm putting the puzzle pieces and painting the picture at the same time, and so it's nothing but exciting. The skies are the limit. I just hope that, the economy continues to go in the direction that it is going, which obviously there are ebbs and flows. I just pray that we don't have another 2008 or rewinding to the gas crisis of the 80s or anything of that nature. They're inevitable.
It cost me $85 Saturday to fill up my skid steer.
Yeah.
It's like a 20-gallon tank.
Yeah.
It's not a joke. Not a joke.
$85. I was filling my truck up.
Yeah.
For that a little while ago.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I bet.
During whenever everybody was under lockdown during COVID, I went and raced in Oklahoma, and on the way there, I paid $1.19 for 87 that I was putting in my van.
When was this?
Last year.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane? I was something that, and obviously now, see, the tough part, the hard part to swallow is that gas prices are a direct reflection of the status of the economy. The higher gas prices are, technically, the better the economy is doing. Because it is a much like, our entire infrastructure is built around automotive, which is convenient for you, but
it's a nice small business.
Yeah, it's a small business. But so our, what is the saying? If you bought it, a truck brought it. Yeah. So obviously, we move things here in America via truck and transportation over the roads. As those gas prices are doing good, everybody else is, supposedly doing good. But the breaking point is when does it get too much?
Yeah.
But look at California, where the average fuel price is like $4.89 right now, a gallon. And then here we are living in the middle of the country, living like kings, where it's $3.20. I passed on the way down here $3.19. And that's a damn good price.
And that's taxes.
Right.
That's the very
yes,
that's
absolutely.
the taxes.
Yes, much of it is. So
You go drive across the line in Florida, you'll pay 10 to 15 cents more per gallon.
So I should fuel up while I'm in Alabama before I get over. Okay, 10-4. So, you know, kind of closing out that thought is that I really hope that while I'm doing this, I don't have to struggle through, you know, a major economy issue. Oddly, who would have thought that, you know, COVID would have made the economy better, you know, for everybody? I really hope that it's not a straw man, you know, of fake money and inflation, that it's real. I don't understand it, and I'm just riding along for whatever the ride is, you know, but I do know now the next wave, and I'm sure, you know, you guys are preparing for it also, is electric. And it's starting to come into motocross. Who's
putting out electric bikes?
Well, actually, KTM manufactures the Enduro E, and then they make. So instead of because guys our age, we grew up knuckle busting on. I say our age, of our generation of people that enjoy motorsports. We grew up fuel powered, you know, combustion engines. Kids today, everything they own is battery powered. Everything. So a lot of the manufacturers, what they're doing is, instead of trying to convert you and I to electric, they're focusing on the next generation. So they're developing mini bikes to replace 50cc mini bikes. Now they have electric and a same power output, same power characteristics, same exact weight. The motorcycle's the same. It's all the same. The only difference is you charge it instead of put fuel in it. So then whenever Junior starts out on an electric bike, he's got a taste for electric growing up. So the sounds and the smells don't mean much to him because he already knows how to have fun.
Yeah, but I get that, but man,
right,
you're killing it.
I know. So whenever we get done, we go out in the office. I'm gonna crack open my my race gas can for you, and you'll
get a I'll feel much better about the whole experience. Absolutely,
right.
Yeah.
But that the next generation of those kids that are growing up, you know, it won't mean as much to them. You know, and another thing that I'm concerned about is augmented reality and virtual reality replacing, you know, like what we're seeing with esports. You know, and I mean, you guys have a simulator out on the in the office, right? That gives all of us an opportunity to drive, you know, a Ford GT, to drive Formula One cars, to drive, you know, the Subaru, you know, WRX STI. Any car you can imagine.
Right.
You know, I mean, one of my favorite cars to drive is the old Lotus Formula One from, you know, the early 80s. It's scary, even in the simulator, to drive that car. Yeah. I'll never be able to drive that in real life. I just hope that motorcycles is like one of those things that you cannot simulate it. And I don't think that you can.
And you really can't with the cars either.
Right.
I guess for some people that have never done it,
yeah.
I can see where you could simulate the car, but playing with the toy out there,
right,
and getting behind the wheel of something that's, you know, it's got a lot of power,
yeah,
is totally different.
Let me ask you this: what's your favorite pizza place?
That's a tough one. Because I don't think there's any really good pizza places around here.
Okay.
Trattoria's would probably be the closest. So I'm also a pizza snob because I've spent a lot of time in Italy because of Texas.
Okay.
So that changed the bar on pizza.
Yeah.
Domino's and
that's not pizza.
and Papa John is not pizza.
Yeah.
So
okay, let's just say your favorite slice. Okay, that you've got. The difference between that favorite slice and Totino's pizza rolls is the same difference between getting in the car and driving the simulator. You get a taste, you know, you understand, you know, the roundabout of it, but it's not the same thing.
No.
You know, I mean, it truly, I mean, you have to get out there and experience. And I mean, I think the really what it boils down to is manipulating gravity, is overcoming gravity in a way that a machine can. I mean, that's the same thing in motocross. It's essentially just conquering gravity. And
my blood doesn't boil
right
when I'm on that simulator.
Right.
I have fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
But the adrenaline's not there.
No.
The white knuckles, all the things.
Which is the risk.
Yeah.
It's overcoming that risk.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the law of gravity will always win. It will always win. You can never beat it. You can try and you can risk to beat it, and sometimes you'll get away with it, but eventually it will always win. I mean, it's dirt bikes. When you race motorcycles, you're going to get hurt. It's not if, it is when. It's inevitable. And I mean the same thing, but you can beat it sometimes, and when you're beating it, it's the best.
Feels pretty good.
It feels pretty good. Yeah. So on social media you can find me, me personally, Rippinruts, Rippin Ruts. I mean, we talked about ruts earlier. Yep. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do. Is just, I mean, it's the same thing with, perfectly mastering the apex of a tricky corner, ripping through a rut. I mean, it's like the epitome. It's the same thing as barreling through a wave. In surf terminology.
And is that the same? That's the same on Instagram as well?
Yes. Yeah. So that's also all social media.
Okay.
I am at Rippinruts, regardless of what it is. That's my. The team is RRCZ KTM, which is Rippinruts Cycle Zone KTM. But that's a lot of letters, so I just shortened it down to the acronym RRCZ KTM, and then it's Facebook by the same name, or you can type in Rippinruts. Either way. We don't. I really don't have. I don't have a lot of stock in YouTube. There is a value with YouTube. I'm more invested in the next generation, which is on Instagram and TikTok, and I'm also on TikTok on Rippinruts.
Okay.
YouTube's great. YouTube serves a purpose. I mean, like whenever I'm working on my van or my truck and I don't know what to do, I go to YouTube. And I'm typically watching someone that's a couple years older than I am talk about how to do that. I want to be able to influence people, of that next generation through 30 seconds or less.
Yeah, from what I've seen, TikTok's where that's at.
Absolutely.
I don't even have a TikTok account.
It's wild. And what's insane is I have almost 19,000 followers on TikTok, and I just started it last fall.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so like I'm producing content that the kids want to watch. Oh, here's the wildest thing. On Saturday night, this little boy who rides 50cc bikes, I can't remember his first name. I know his last name's Smith. I watch him because the kid's fast, on the Arenacross track. And he comes up to me, and he's such a little kid. You know how like little kids have that little kid voice, you're not exactly sure what they're saying. And he just, yeah, cool, right on, buddy. He gave me that, but I really wanted to hear what it was that he had saying, because the kid had never talked to me before, and he just pops up out of nowhere. And he had his helmet off. He's just this cute little kid with the turf, hair. What do they call it? I don't know. The toe turf hair. Anyway, turf head, dude. Help me out here. Is that right?
Helmet head?
I don't know. He's got a little cowlick with this, hair, and he's got these blue eyes, and he's looking up at me, just the cutest little kid. And he was like, I watch you on TikTok. And I was like, who let you have TikTok?
That's right.
Because,
oh my God, where's your parents?
Literally, yeah, And like, I have TikTok, and all that I see on TikTok is dirt bikes and girls twerking. That's my TikTok feed.
Probably his too.
Yes.
And he's 5.
And he's 5. That's right. Yeah. And I'm thinking about whenever I was a little kid and I first got AOL on dial-up, and the things.
So if you're out there in the audience and you're looking for dirt bikes and twerking, TikTok's where it's at.
That's right. Yes. But so, I mean, like, it was that kind of really put the weight of what that platform is and what it's good for.
Yep.
To have this little 7-year-old boy come up to me and give me that stairway to heaven look, like I'm, Aaron Rodgers. because
awesome.
Because he watches me on TikTok.
On TikTok.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's the 18,000 followers that I have right there, is that kid, and like on TikTok, it's kind of nerfed the way that I talk and act on there, and it's mostly just writing video, and the music that I put in, it's pretty PG, because I don't want to be the kid that's exposing these 8-year-olds to Juicy J and NWA and the shit that I grew up listening to.
Probably not a good idea.
Well, whether or not it is, I mean, eventually they're going to hear it, but you know what? I'm not the guy. I'll let their parents play that.
Right.
So. Anyway, yeah, that's on TikTok again, Rippinruts, and then the team Instagram. And I mean, I really don't see a need for us to have a website. Honestly, we do so good. I mean, I'm doing well over $1.5 million throughout any 30 days across all platforms. So having a .com isn't going to help me with those numbers at all. It's
definitely not.
Yeah. So, yeah. Check us out on social media.
Yeah, definitely check them out on social media. Jeff, thank you, man.
Hey, thanks, man.
It's been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Yes.
And everybody, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again soon in the Cutting Edge Garage.